Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
So, what is your name? Because I know it's not Clarence because I've seen True Romance about 100 times.
My real name is Dean.
Dean?
Yes.
All right, nice to meet you, Dean. So we met in the Hams group.
Yes, we did. That's correct.
Okay, so you moderately drink.
Hmm.
And that's like, how does that work for you? Because I've had Ken on the show before, and we talked about how he does like controlled, or what do they call it? Planned detoxes.
Right.
So,
Well, the way it works, the Hams method actually works, where you just wean yourself down. Um, if you're down in the bottle pretty hard, first of all, I should explain, I'm not a violent or like evil or emotional abusive person. When I get drunk, I just get fall down stupid drunk, like embarrassingly drunk. And so if I'm in the bottle, that's where I'm at. If I and the way the Hams method works, wow, the way the Hams method works is that if you switch to something softer, like beer or seltzers, which is what I use, and then you slowly moderate yourself down from there, you can then you count per day, and then it's like, okay, I've had 7 today, and then the next day you have 6, and then the next day you have 5, and then you know what I mean. You just wean yourself off. So like weaning yourself off is better than cold turkey, right?
oh
So
yeah.
then you don't have the withdrawals and the all that stuff. So
Yeah, I tried to do all that with not my drinking, but my pills. When I was into pills, I tried to like, all right, well, I'm not going to do 4 today. I'll do 3 today because I did 4 yesterday.
yeah,
And I,
sure.
what?
I said yeah, sure. I was just agreeing with you. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't mean to overtalk you. Yep,
No,
yep. No,
it's fine. No, it's totally fine. But yeah, I totally understand that, like the whole like moderately going down, weaning yourself down. So is alcohol your drug of choice, or did you have other drugs of choices?
uh, alcohol and at one time it was benzos pretty bad, but I'm on a pretty low dose of benzos at this point. So
Okay, well let's rewind. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Iowa.
Okay, I've had a few people from Iowa on now. Um, so growing up in Iowa, when were you introduced to alcohol?
Oh, I started drinking when I was probably, I don't know, like older than most people, probably. Like probably 18 or 19, maybe.
So how did you get into drinking like at 18, 19? Like for me, it was watching movies and drinking at 11.
Sure. For me, it was college. That's kind of where it started.
Okay, and you went away to school or did you stay home?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you go away to school or did you stay home?
I went away. I went to Iowa State University, and then and it was 2 hours from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was sorority and like fraternity and sorority parties and all those things, and
Were you like under strict rules as a kid, like growing up?
not too bad, no. But also like no drinking allowed in the house, of course. But no, not really. No,
Or did you have siblings?
I had one sister, but she was 15 years older than me, and so but she passed away from cancer in 2017.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Thanks for saying that. But no, it was tough to watch, but she passed away at 54, which is, that's too young, you know.
Yeah, my dad just passed away at 60 because of cancer. So
I'm sorry to hear that, man. I
yeah,
really am.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so I know, you know what I mean, like that kind of loss because 60 is too young also. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. So you grew up in a pretty regular house, parents still together, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, my dad passed away in March. I'm 46. I should just explain all of this. My dad is 46. I'm sorry, I'm 46. My dad passed away at 85 in March from dementia and uh, Parkinson's disease. And my
That's
mom
sorry.
is dying of dementia as well. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you should I tell my whole story or
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Okay. And then so like it's been a rough year, man. Uh, my I've lost my employment. I've uh, I've been an engineer for 23 years. Lost my employment. I lost my dad, and then now I'm staring at a divorce, and my mom is diagnosed of dementia. And then in Iowa, there's this dumb law where they can commit you for alcohol abuse, and my wife can do that, and she's threatened if I come, I'm not in Iowa right now. I'm actually in Kansas. So if I go back home, my wife is going to say, I'm going to commit you again. I'm going to do it again if you come back. So, and that means you have to spend 72 hours in lockup in the hospital, plus 30 days in a rehab facility, and they don't let you outside. And as you can tell by looking at me, I need to be outside. um, it's just my thing, you know. Sunsets and sunrises and all of those things make me happy. And if I can't see those things outside, then you know, I need to go for walks. I'm a fitness guy and all those things. And so I'm working with a lawyer on getting all that stuff straightened out. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm in a hotel room in Kansas right now. I'm on my way out west to climb El Cap. Uh, I can climb. That's going to be one big challenge, though. I won't be able to do it right away. I can climb indoors, but I don't know if I can. Like, I'll have to climb. Like, I haven't climbed real rock yet. So that's, I mean, that's like the hardest one to climb, right, in the United
yeah.
States. So I'm gonna climb like the smaller ones around Yosemite first, and then work my way up to El Cap. So that's kind of my story. That's kind of where I'm at. But I'm sitting here in Kansas until I get that all that legal stuff straightened out. So
So is that why? Because you're unemployed, and is Kansas, I guess, not that far, or how far are you from home?
uh, I'm only 9 hours from home. Um, but she also like she filed two sets. Okay, so I can I swear on this podcast or not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I packed up my shit and left, right? Because my wife was like basically emotionally abusive. We've been married for 20 years. And I knew she filed those committal papers. And so I packed up my shit and left. And then, so there's two sets of paperwork again. Once again, I am not a violent person. None of it had anything to do with any violence, no crimes, no nothing. But I, but she filed two sets of paperwork. One of them was the committal papers, and the other was a missing persons report. And the missing persons report meant nationwide. So I've been pulled over in every single state that I've been in since Iowa, which is only two of them. It was Iowa by three state troopers, and then it was Nebraska by two state troopers, and then it was Kansas by one. Sober the whole time, but once again, nothing to worry about. But and so I just stopped. I was like, I'm stopping until we get all of this figured out. Now, it's been lifted now, um, because if you're out of state, they just drop it because they're not going to chase a drunk guy. You know what I mean? Like the committal papers are only active in Lynn County, Iowa. Shit, gave away where I was from. That's okay. Um,
I can
so
take it out.
no, it's all right. Um, and so they're only active in the county that it was filed in, and so as long as you're not in that county, and I talked to the sheriff's office in like every single place I've been in, and I'm like, can I get this dropped? And we finally got it dropped. But she has threatened me that if I come back home, which is where I want to go, to take care of my mom who's dying of dementia, um, that she'll commit me again. And so I'm working with a lawyer to get that straightened out. So
I
that's
was
kind of my that's kind of my story.
well, I was curious what brings you out to Kansas and
Well,
nine
I was
hours.
Kansas is on the way to California. I was going to go visit my son who goes to Arizona State University, And then after I visited him, I was going to go to California and then work on climbing El Cap. So,
Oh, okay. Is that still your game plan?
oh yeah, it definitely is. Yes.
So I mean, engineers, they do pretty well. Do you have money set aside for like a rainy day? Because
Yes.
like the way
That's what I'm.
what's
Yes.
that?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to overtalk you. You go.
No, I was just curious, like being in a hotel isn't a cheap thing all the time, and just getting away and then being able to take the time off work to go climb. Like, did you have money stashed away for a rainy day?
Yes. That's what I'm living on right now. Is that rainy day fund? Yes. Yes.
Okay. How much longer are you staying there?
Until I get this legal stuff figured out.
Okay. You're not hitting the road again?
Not until my lawyer told me to stay put for now because we just got to get this straightened out. Like, everything's been lifted. Like, I'm not a missing persons anymore, and persons. I'm not a missing person anymore. Uh, and also, the committal's been lifted as well. But um, you know how the government is, right? So the paperwork might take a few weeks to get all of that. Like, it might work here and it might work in Iowa, but
But it might not work down to Arizona.
right, exactly. So he's like, let me check into this and make sure it's cleared everywhere. And so that's why I'm staying put for now. So
Now, how old, do you have many kids? How many kids do you have?
one child, he's 19. He's not a child. He's an adult. But yeah,
And he knows you're on the way to go see him?
yes, that's correct. Yes,
That's cool. I mean, that's a far place to go to college at from Iowa.
it is. Yeah, we told him he could go anywhere he wanted. My dad paid for my college, and he said you can go anywhere you want. And the deal was you have to pay for your kid's college. And so I'm like, okay, that's a deal. And so that's what I've been doing. And so that's what he did. He decided to go there. He's a biochem pre-med, so I'm super proud of him for doing that.
Yeah.
And I put no pressure on him to do any of that. Like my dad, like basically made me go to school. Uh, didn't like force the engineering stuff on me. I just scored high in math and science and whatever. But he he basically pressured me into college, and I told my son that you can do whatever you want. Like you can go into a trade, you can do whatever you want. Like it doesn't matter. But he chose to do that, and so I'm proud of him, and I'm cheering for him. So I hope
Yeah,
he goes all the way through with it.
that's really incredible. I mean, to be pre-med, and I mean, obviously you're an engineer, so you have to be intelligent. And most of us, like,
I
you know,
wouldn't say
what?
that. No, keep going. I'm sorry. I
No,
just
you're fine. No,
I had
I
to, I
definitely
had to
would.
cut
I know
myself down.
people that are engineers, and it's not an easy thing. Like I know a kid that went he's my age, but he went to Drexel to be an engineer. So like I know he does well as an engineer graduating from Drexel. So I know firsthand, like I've heard all the stories about how tough it is and why he's able to afford his addiction. So did you find yourself like because right now you're moderating and you're drinking down.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
what
correct.
was your height? How old were you when you were at your height of your most drinking?
Um, in 2020 was probably the worst. We had something called a derecho in Iowa. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a hurricane on land, uh, and it like destroyed like everything in town. Trees went down, like all like it destroyed our trees, and it knocked my parents' old trees like into their house and all of that. Like it was a really bad like it's a hurricane on land basically. And I was like I was so yeah, I'll just admit all of this. I was really drunk. I was laying on the couch and I left my garage door open during the entire thing, and I was just passed out, man. I was out, and it was like that was my rock bottom, I suppose. And then after that, like I got sober, and I was sober until my dad died, and then my dad died in March, and then this year. So from 2020 until 2023, I was sober. Can I
Now,
mention illegal substances on here or not?
yeah.
Okay. So I did smoke a fair amount of weed. But I mean that doesn't even really count.
No, I still smoke weed. I
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I have my medical card, and you know what I mean. Like I'm a big support because like my drug of choice was roxycodone,
Oh yeah,
so
sure.
oxys. You know what I mean. That was
I
my
do.
addiction.
I do.
Uh,
I luckily didn't catch that one. Luckily, I'd
yeah,
probably be dead if I did.
yeah. Still don't know how I'm still alive, to be honest with you, because all the people that have died around me. You know what I mean. And my dad just passed in June
I'm
from.
sorry, man. Sorry to
So
hear
I definitely know what it's like to have those thoughts, you know what I mean, of what if I just go out, you know, were you into AA or anything to get 3 years strung together?
that. No, because I disagree with AA
So
entirely.
you were a dry drunk. You're like, I'm doing this on my own, or were you using the Hames method then too?
I didn't even drink at all, actually, and I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I used, I got super fit, and like I'm not bragging, but I'm still that way. I found exercise, diet, exercise, and sleep work like the small things add up pretty quickly to get sober. And so I started working out for like vanity reasons. Me and my wife, like we went to Hawaii for a vacation, and like I didn't like how my gut looked. Most of us dudes have guts, and so I I was like, I don't like how this looks. So I that's how I started it. And then I found out I'm like, I feel much better about myself, like doing this. And
Yeah.
so um, so then I started like counting my calories and all those things, and I cut down a bunch of weight, and like kept working out, and then like I said, I started for vanity reasons, but it kept going, but not for vanity reasons after that. It was more for mental health reasons. So
And you're still working out right now, even though you've been out.
that's correct. Yes. Yep. I work out my muscle groups, all of them the correct way. Like each. Yeah. Yes. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, because you can't like be out of shape if you're going to be climbing on rocks and shit.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to stay in climbing shape.
Now,
Yep.
are you working your way down to being sober again?
Yes. I'm working on it. Yes. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. Yes.
Now, did you know the Hams method, 2020 when you first quit?
No, I did not. I actually didn't. I just kind of weaned myself off on my own, but then I had a couple slips. Uh, yeah, like once my dad died, in March of this year, not this year, 2023. I That's when I started Googling it. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And that's where I found the Hams group, and that's probably how we found each other.
Yeah,
And yep, and I yeah, and it was
yeah.
like,
I was looking for somebody that messed around with Quaaludes. That
okay,
that was my original post, I think, that we started talking because your name
yeah.
stood out to me because, like I said, I love True Romance.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best movie of all time. We need to say that. That
Well,
that's
I love it so much. You know how like people can like, oh, 9/11, this is where I was. You know what I mean? I can
yeah,
I can do that with some movies, and one of those movies is True Romance. Like I remember being recommended to watch it on Blu-ray when I worked at Best Buy. It was probably like 15 years ago.
yeah.
And I bought it right away, and I went home and watched it. And I immediately after the first time I watched it, I put it on again with Quentin Tarantino's what you call it, like dialogue through
Oh, I haven't
like
seen
doing
that
the
one.
voiceover. And I watched it that way. Then I watched it with Tony Scott, the director, talking throughout the movie. So
Sure.
then I watched it again for the hell of it. Like I watched it like 4 times in a row. and just still to this day is one of my favorite movies. So I recognize Christian Slater in your picture, and I'm like, Clarence Worley. That makes a lot of sense. I know who that is. I'm like,
um,
this guy's cool. I got to talk to him. He's got a
that
story.
that Sicilian scene is discussed in film classes.
Oh yeah, it's considered one of the best scenes like ever of all time.
Yeah,
And both actors said that they read that verbatim for how Tarantino wrote it.
yeah, I've heard that too. That's
Like,
interesting to hear.
I
Like,
think it's one of the best Tarantino scripts that he's ever written. Like,
hmm
I think it's better than Reservoir Dogs. I think it's better than Jackie Brown, Kill Bills. It's up there with like Inglorious Bastards and Django Unchained, and I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that movie was amazing.
oh, I love Brad Pitt in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great movie. I love
Ter-
the ending.
oh,
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that's going to watch this podcast, but the ending was fucking amazing.
it's the second. It's his second movie where he changed the ending. He changed what happens in real life.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
in Inglorious Bastards, it ends with them killing Hitler, and
Yeah,
so this movie, he's getting revenge on the people that killed Sharon Tate.
yeah, sure. Yeah, right.
So he changed the endings of the real life. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is the ending. They all get murdered by Manson." It's like, no, Tarantino's going to throw a curveball at you, and it's going to be
Yep,
so.
I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know that like the Manson murders happen, and Margot Robbie's going to die, and the next thing you know, she doesn't die, and it's all because of Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
But his dog in that scene, when he
Yeah.
like he makes like the no like and clicks his tongue and that dog goes flying at that dude. Oh man, yeah. So once upon a time, I even have the script, like the book of that movie, because he wrote it into a novel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back into a little bit about film class stuff. John Wick. They like one of the like basic rules of film classes because I took film class in college to fill some credits, right?
yeah,
And one of the basic rules of like film writing is you don't kill kids and you don't kill dogs. But in John Wick, they killed a dog,
yeah,
and and I don't know. I think it's cool that they did that, but then also it was like it also just like set the whole scene for the rest of the whole fucking story. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
it was
I've
like okay,
two screenplays. So and it was because of True Romance. I got really into writing, and my buddy and I, we wrote one in like 2011, and when we were living together, and he actually kind of won an Oscar a few years ago. He
holy
did
shit.
he worked the audio for a movie about like a deaf drummer, Sound of Metal, I think it is.
I think I've heard of that movie even.
Yeah, he did the audio for that, him and three other guys,
That's
and
awesome.
they won the Academy Award for Best Sound. So
Sweet.
he still works in movies. And the second one I wrote, I lost on my hard drive, and I didn't have the heart to keep writing it again because I was so pissed off that I lost all of my progress that I made on it. I was
Oh, it's a
years
bummer.
way through,
Sure.
and it was that was more of a gritty 1980s con artist movie is
Oh yeah.
what I was writing because I love con artist movies.
Yeah, me too.
That and Lost. I don't know if you
Yeah,
watched.
okay. So I love the first two seasons of Lost.
Yeah, and I thought of Sawyer and like how like he had so many cons that
Yeah, he did have him running, didn't he? Yeah.
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 But yeah, we went off on a tangent. It happens sometimes. So what are you down to now drink wise to where you're working your way to like that goal of zero again?
I'm at about 8 per day, which is too many. Um I'm trying to get down, like maybe tomorrow I'll have 7. And then just kind of, like work my day, like each day have one less. But I'm at about 8 per day at the moment. So
So, you know, that's not I can see how you're working your way down, but what were you at to where you started at?
When I lost my employment, I was in the bottle. So, like I was like I said, once again, no violence, no emotional like abuse or anything like that, but just fall down stupid drunk, right? And then I like look up the Hams method, and it was like, okay, how do I fix this? And so they were like, switch to beer. And so I did, but I don't like beer. I don't like the taste of it, but I do like the seltzers. They taste good, and they have the same percentage of alcohol in them anyway. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
So you started on the bottle, and then you've been working your way down with beers.
That's correct, and that's how the Hams method works. That's correct. Yes.
What bottles were you drinking?
Vodka. Uh, oh my gosh, I have to bring this up since this is being recorded. Matthew Perry's book about addiction is probably like the best thing that's ever been said, especially if you can find it on audiobook form.
I don't need to go far.
Oh yeah. It's have you heard it on audiobook form?
No, I didn't even start to read it yet, to be honest.
Okay. You should read it. But and I listened to it on audiobook because I don't know if I can't absorb material through a book. I don't know why. I just can't. Maybe it's ADHD or something. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But on audiobook he reads the words. He's the one that reads them. And
Okay.
so it's super good. I had to take it in small chunks because it hit me so hard. Like it's like this is me. I get it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the opioid addiction that he had, but I definitely did have the alcohol addiction that he had. And so like it was like this hurts. Like I'm kind of an empath, if that's the right word. I don't know if that's a good word to use or not, but like I can feel somebody else's pain,
Yeah.
and it seems like he's a very sweet man. Um and it like I just felt his pain while he was while he was describing it. So like I'm like I can't listen to this right now. Like it's like this is me and I'm feeling your pain. And so I had to like read it, or I'm sorry, listen to it, and like 1 hour at a time. Like it's like, oh, I gotta stop, I'm gonna cry. And I'm not a very manly man. Like I'm not afraid to cry. Like
Yeah, it's
whatever.
okay for yeah.
Yeah. And it made me cry a bunch of times. Like it's like, oh my gosh, this poor guy. Like I really felt his pain.
Yeah.
Um,
I heard it's
um
extremely relatable to anybody that's been in any kind of addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs. Like it's a very
yeah,
relatable story.
absolutely. It is. And he describes it in a way that, is not judgmental in any way, like AA is or whatever. Like he's not telling us what to do. He's just telling us his story.
Yeah.
He's not saying like this is how you should do it or whatever. You know, he's just saying it, and it's yeah no it's very good. I mean it's yeah it's very good. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you brought it up and showed it, so that way
Yeah.
if people watch this podcast they can see it, and I hope that they listen to it because I don't know, there's something to learn from there. I
I
think.
get more downloads for audio than I do video watches on YouTube. So
Good.
I think people can take it in because this information sometimes can be really triggering for people to hear stories, and sometimes they can be triggering. So
No, that's fair. Yeah.
I always think of it like the audio probably is easier to take in what's going on than the video of watching somebody's pain.
Yeah. No, that's fair to say. I like it when I can hear the actual person that wrote the book um, say the words, and you can tell even in the audiobook that he was never out of the hole. He never made it out. I mean, he was always down in that addiction hole, right? You could just hear it in his words. You could just hear it. He never made it out, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, because it was what ketamine was in his system when he was found.
Yeah, that was ketamine that got him. I think. Yeah, he fell asleep in ketamine in his hot tub, right? I think
Yeah,
that's what happened. But
yeah, I think yeah,
in the book, his words are slurry. and you can tell that he wasn't, like I said, all the way out of the hole. Who knows what it was that made his words slurry, but yeah, no, he wasn't out. He wasn't out, and we were all cheering for him.
Yeah, I think he's like the most likable guy from the show.
Yeah.
I think he was definitely the most likable on the show, and after the show, I related to Chandler. I definitely wasn't a Joey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sure
me
wasn't.
neither. If you can look at me, you can tell I'm not a Joey. Yeah.
I was more, I'm going to break the ice with humor and be awkward about it. And, I definitely always related it. And I still do. It's funny because now I relate to him even more than I did when I was younger watching the show. When I was like in my early 20s, late teens, I just thought he was the funniest. And now I'm like looking back, I'm like, no, eventually I grew to like him more, that I knew he was an addict, because I knew I was a drug addict when I was 22 years old.
Sure.
That's when I knew and I spotted a problem. And me being all fucked up in my head, I'm like, all right, I am addicted to these pills, and I can just keep doing them and I'll be okay. I know how to do this. And I kept thinking I could do it like moderately and knock it out of hand. But next thing you know, I'm doing them every day for 8 years. And
Right.
it's an
Sure.
expensive habit to keep. I got to keep a job. Like I said, I love con artist movies. So I did a bunch of shady shit to be able to afford my addiction. So, and that's as much as I can really talk without getting myself in trouble.
No, it's fine.
Uh,
I've never actually tried Quaaludes, but
and
I've
that's
been.
how we started talking, yeah, because I've always wanted to, and not today, I don't want to try them. I mean, probably I would, but I never got the chance to try Quaaludes. And it's always been one of those things like, I wonder what they were like. And I would mix Xanax and my Percocets at the same time because I felt like that was the same sensations that Quaaludes would have gave me.
Sure. Sure.
But
Can
you
I
never
ask you
tried?
about your podcast? How do I find it? Like, if this episode does get posted, are you gonna let me know? Like how
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
you'll be able to share it with whoever you want to. If you want to post it on your Facebook, you can do that too. Whatever you want to do. I let people decide how they're going to share the video, because
Okay.
it's not my story to tell. I
Right.
I release it when I release it, and like Jesus from the group.
Yes, I do. Yes.
He was on my show.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so when I talked to him, he was like, "Yeah, you can post it anywhere you want to. Like, you can use my name when you post it. I don't care if it's on my Facebook." So I was able to tag him in the Hams group whenever I posted about it.
Oh
So
yeah. Cool.
that's up to the people that are on my show how much they want to post it. But it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. I have the channel on YouTube under MJ's Progress Not Perfection, and it's also on Apple, it's on Spotify under the same name, MJ's. I think on Spotify if you just type in Progress Not Perfection, I pop up.
Sure.
But yeah, you can easily download episodes. I have 150 episodes now.
Okay, I'm gonna go check some of them out. But
Yeah,
when we're done talking.
and
Also,
you'll notice all my episodes are titled "The One Where," "The One With," or "The One When," because I love Friends so
oh,
much
you love Friends so much.
that I
Nice.
named all the episodes "The One With" or "The One."
I love it.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I'm not gonna ruin. I'm gonna ruin part of the book for you.
no, that's fine.
Um, Ross was the one that he's the one that got them $1 million per episode. So Matthew Perry talks about this. He's like David Schwimmer. I owe him $28 million because he's the one that was like the women were making less than the men, and he's like, I'm gonna hold out, and you guys should all hold out, and they did, and it worked, and that's how they got $1 million per episode.
Yeah,
And
it's wild how much money they made those last two seasons.
yeah, yeah. He's like, I owe that guy $28 million. And so good for Ross for being like kind of a feminist as a man, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he was
he
he was
definitely.
sticking up for the women.
And this
And
was in the 90s before it was cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he saw the unfairness of it. He's like, I'm making more than everybody else here, and this is unfair. Like these people are not making the same as us, and we're all doing the same thing, and we're all like, they were kind of a family. You like we talked about. You love Friends. I love Friends too.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
It's crazy that it's so much harder to get employment if you use cannabis. Like,
Yeah.
it's way better for you than drinking is.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And it's wild that, just because drinking is so acceptable that it can be in your UA, and it's okay if it's like in your urine analysis.
The other drugs, they leave your system real fast, right? Like the harder ones. And so, like, I know that Coke is out of your system in like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's simple to like, and I've only tried it just a handful of times, but, and
Not
fuck.
me. I was into snorting. I was addicted to snorting as much as I was addicted to the pill.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, psychologically, I was addicted to snorting, and it didn't matter what it was, I was going to snort it.
Sure.
Like, even Xanax, it didn't make a difference if you snorted or just take it, by mouth.
Oh, sure. I've never actually snorted a benzo.
Well, yeah, it's because it doesn't work. You just you still get high in the same amount of time.
Sure.
If you're Xanax. So it's a waste to snort it. It just gets stuck in your nose, and you lose some of it because it's not fully going through your system. So but that's the point, is and I knew this, that it was a waste, but I was addicted to snorting so much that I didn't care about being a waste.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, so I'm all for it. In Pennsylvania, where I live, if you have your cannabis license or your ID for prescription, then you can still pass drug tests with it. Like,
okay, sure.
It's like if I had OxyContin in my system, but I had the script for it.
Then it's okay, right?
It's the same idea now with cannabis, whereas because like I work in a job where I know somebody that got a job that uses cannabis every day. They didn't have to quit like I did, and they were able to fight their case in order to be able to gain employment even with their showing up in cannabis. I'm like, I didn't have that much in me to give it. I just was easier just for me to cut ties. You were arguing your way through. I just was like, fuck it. I just won't do this for a month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right on. Yeah. Yep.
People just had different willpowers. But I think I had that mindset. If I can quit drinking or using, I can quit anything. Like, I've moderately cut down on cigarettes, and now I just use nicotine gum.
You've watched me vape. That's what I've been using lately. I go in and out of tobacco addiction.
Yeah, I'm addicted to the gum now.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't, but
the thing is, I've seen a thing that nicotine is helpful to you if you do it like with the pouches or with the gum.
Yeah, and I'm gonna switch to pouches soon, because there's not enough. So like that's the engineer in me. There's not enough data out there to show that. Like I know the vaping is bad for us, and we all know it, but we just don't know how bad yet because there's not enough data out there yet.
That's why I never. That exact reason, Dean, is the exact reason why I don't vape right now and I use the gum, is because I know there's a shitload of data when I smoke cigarettes. I know there's over 100 years of research into
Yes.
smoking and its effects with
Oh
cigarettes.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And then I heard a podcast where like this Stanford scientist, his name's Andrew Huberman. He did a podcast about nicotine being healthy for you, like with your mood, with getting through now I can't even remember what he talks about specifically. But the moral of the story is nicotine can be good for you if the method is correct. So the pouches and the gum are good ways to use nicotine, but the tar in chewing or smoking is what's bad for you.
Sure. And actually, I think it's just the tobacco that's actually bad for you. I think if you go with the non-tobacco pouches, I think that you can probably just be fine.
Yeah,
Um,
if it's just strictly nicotine, you're good.
yeah, I think so too. Um,
I mean, you're addicted still. That's
I
not.
am. I am.
and
Uh,
and even the gum, I got addicted to the gum, and it is what it is. The gum is a lot healthier for me, and that's the thing is, there's been 50 years of research on the gum to know the effects of it and know if it's bad for you or not, as
right.
opposed to the vape. And my wife vapes, and I always say there's not enough research to know what's going to happen long term with vaping.
You're right. Nope, and I agree. So I just need to switch to those pouches. Basically, is what I need to switch to. The non-tobacco pouches is what I got to switch to.
So smoking doesn't affect your climbing?
Um, Vaping does not. Smoking does. I I don't like smoke, and I don't care if people smoke. I have no judgment about what people do. They can do whatever they want. I don't care. But I don't like the smell of it anymore all that much. And I also just like it hurts my lungs, and like I said, I'm kind of an athlete and I work out, and it like that kind of takes away some of that. And so the vaping does not do that though. So I don't know. That's why I vape. So I don't know. But like I said, I need to switch. I just need to get off of it and all of that. But
Yeah, I think the pouches will be helpful, or you know what I mean. The reason I stick with gum is because a trick for people that are watching or listening is you have your doctor write you a script for nicotine gum. So
oh, sure.
instead of paying $42 for a CVS brand nicotine gum, I pay $1 copay, and I get the same amount of nicotine gum as the one behind the counter for $43.
Oh, nice.
So
That's
if
super
you're
cool.
thinking about quitting smoking and you're not sure what to do and you want to switch to gum but it looks too expensive, it is not too expensive if your doctor writes you a script.
Sure. Hey, can you tell me your story
Yeah,
since
sure.
we're talking?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. That's
Mhm.
why I have kind of an accent when I talk. Um, and I
I haven't
discovered
noticed it at all, but anyway, go ahead.
it happens when I say things like water instead of water,
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, there's
stuff
one.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I grew up outside of Philly. I discovered alcohol when I was 11.
Okay.
Um, I it was like my friend and I would watch The Outsiders and we would drink,
Okay.
and that was like our thing to do was watch The Outsiders and drink together.
And how old were you when this happened?
11.
11 or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by the time I was 12, I had a friend pass away that I grew up with.
I'm sorry, man.
I didn't know how to deal with it, and
Right.
I said to that same friend, "Hey, if we drink, we're gonna feel better."
Sure.
So that's me drinking, alcoholically at 12 years old is to numb, because I was, made fun of because I was a heavy set kid. So I was made fun of for it, and to escape, I drank. And I
Yeah.
drank, I would say, even by the time I was a senior in high school, I was drinking almost every day. Um,
Was it beer or was it like were you in the bottle?
Both.
Okay. Okay.
I would drink beer while playing. I was in high school during these days, so like we were playing drinking games and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sure, like beer pong and shit like
Yeah,
that.
it
Yeah.
flip cup, all those kind of games.
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
I was drinking beer when I played games, but if I wasn't playing games, I would drink vodka because you can mix that shit with anything.
Right.
So like that's the reason why I drank vodka, was because you can literally put it like Tito's and soda. That was my shit for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up moving to Massachusetts when I graduated high school.
Okay.
My dad had gotten work up there, so I moved up there with him, and I didn't drink as much at that time. But within like a year, I moved out of there and got my own place in Jersey, where I was from, and that's where the drinking really went to its height of 20, 21 years old. By the time I was turning 22, I was like over it. Drinking wasn't doing it for me anymore, and I was introduced to, Percocets.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't take me long to go from 5 milligrams to 10 to 30. I was blast off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I stayed in active addiction for 10 years, where every day I was using 2 to 4 to 8 Roxys in a day. And I had a fiance that took her life when I was 24, 25.
Oh my gosh, man, I'm so sorry.
I was 29, she was 27.
I'm
20.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. That sucks, dude.
Yeah, so that's when I started drinking again every day, and I was still using, and I didn't really know many people. I lived in North Carolina at this time, because I kept running away from my problems. So like Massachusetts to Jersey, Jersey to North Carolina, North Carolina to Pennsylvania. I kept going with myself no matter where I was living. So,
Right.
I was able to get my pills overnighted to me from Jersey. I was able to drink every night at the bar. And once I started drinking with people, I quickly found cocaine. And just from like talking to people, they, get a vibe from me. I'm like, hey, do you know where I can get some coke? And because I knew I couldn't get pills every day, but if I get coke, then I can snort something. So I was just a destructive person, like to myself.
Oh,
I was,
sure.
you know what I mean? Like I wasn't hurting anybody else around me. I wasn't
Sure.
drinking and driving. The bar, I smoke cigarettes, so I count everything in cigarettes. So I could smoke a half a cigarette and be already at the bar. That's how close I lived to the bar.
Oh,
So
okay, sure. Yeah, yeah. You measure it in time.
yeah,
That's
my
interesting.
measured time is in cigarettes sometimes. Because I would always light up outside my apartment, and then by the time I got there, I'm still like half a cigarette in, where I got to stand out there and finish it before I get my. They had the stools already ready for me every day, like they knew where I was going to sit, and they put it up. Like I was deep into my drinking those days. I had dinner at the bar every night. It was
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Well,
Uh,
those people become family though at the bar.
oh,
Though.
we ended up joining their fantasy football league that they had with all their
Yeah.
employees. That's we spent, and they made sure the food was always brought right out to us. We never waited for anything. There was I would text him, the bartender, being like, make sure our seats are up at 6, coming for dinner tonight. And he would have the bar seats already pulled up with glasses of water right in front of him, so people wouldn't try to sit down because it would look like the seats were taken. Like I was definitely an outgoing drunk. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, sure.
I
Yeah.
wasn't the self-destructive person like when I was drinking. I was more like, let's go party. And I'm a fun kind of drunk, not a depressing kind of drunk, but really
Me too. Me too.
inside I was just dying.
Yeah, you're just hurting yourself, right?
And for the last year of my addiction, I was driving an hour and a half each way to get my pills. And I would do that 4 times a week, where I would drive almost 3 hours round trip to go get pills.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
no,
was,
and I should say, I need to clarify this. This is a judgment-free zone. Like I don't think anything bad about that because
oh no,
I've been down that, like, not that exact hole, but I've been down holes, and so I get it. So I didn't mean to talk over you. You
that's
keep going.
fine. But I was quickly found myself having suicidal ideations.
Oh yeah, understand those as well. So
So once I got to the breaking point where it was like, all right, I either need to try to get sober or I need to just end this right now. And once it got to that point, I had I was watching this documentary called Legend of 420, and it was on Netflix. And in that documentary, they named a rehab. They talked about a rehab out in LA that uses cannabis as a way to get off drugs.
And
And
it works.
it worked for me. You know what
It
I mean?
worked for me as well.
I haven't touched a hard drug in almost 6 years. So it
From
worked.
2020 to 2023, I was sober from everything except for weed. Weed was my antidepressant. Like, I've had panic disorder my entire life.
Yeah.
And they prescribed, benzos and all those things, and like SSRIs, which suck, and then like a whole bunch of other things. Like I've been on every single one that basically is out there. Not just the SSRIs, but I'm like every single one that they can try to prescribe me doesn't work. The benzos do work, but um, I guess it's me talking now. But yeah, like weed worked. It actually did.
It really does, man. Like I can't advocate for it enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, it's worked for me. You know what I mean? In sobriety, I've met and married my wife, and we started a nonprofit together. And I work from home, so I don't have to worry about being. She has MS, so I take care of her.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's rough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I bet it is. I know people that have it, and
It's
so I'm.
debilitating.
Yeah.
But we
It's a
get
rough one.
we get through, and I do this show just for fun. It keeps me sober doing this. I'm coming up on 4 years without a drink on Leap Day, and
Congratulations on that.
thank you. So
I hope that watching me drink doesn't trigger your.
no, you're not the first person to even do that. So it's I'm not upset by it.
Okay. I've been a bartender, and it doesn't trigger me.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and be so open and honest. I'll keep you posted on when I have the episode available for you. And
Okay.
Have a great night, man. Hang in there.
Yeah, man. You too. Thanks. You too as well, man. I care for you. So.
Thanks. I appreciate it, bud.
All right. We'll
All right,
talk later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.